call meeting of the Farragut Municipal Planning Commission, August 11th, 2011. I'm going to start out with if we have any comments from the public in the audience, questions, comments that are not related to any of the items on the agenda. That can come forward now and we'll address those first. If not, we'll move on to the items on the agenda tonight. As I said, this is a call meeting and we have some specifics we're going to deal with tonight. This is a public hearing and discussion and consideration of approval of the zoning map amendment of correction to correct the technical error recently discovered on the official zoning map.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. In the following PowerPoint slides, you'll see, and I'll try to illustrate as clearly and simply as possible, first how we got to this point, and basically what this body needs to do to get us back on track with this development. As you know, on July 21st, 2011, at your last meeting, this body approved the Costco site plan development with a list of conditions, some 33 conditions, and one of the conditions was to petition to rezone the western portion of their development, which at the time we thought was 100 foot in width, the buffer, the B1 buffer. And I'll go to the next slide so you can see the map and the public can have a chance to see it. So this is illustrating the Powell Acres subdivision in the middle, in the beige area, and then in the C1 pinkish area is the development for Costco. The B1 buffer district is the green area in between the R1 and the C1, which again, we believed when this site plan was submitted over the course of the past couple months that this was 100 feet in width. In the research that we did after the July 21st meeting, we found that it was actually 50 feet. So, you know, in doing the research, we went back and looked at our map, looked at the zoning map, looked at our GIS, which is our digital system, and this actual map here is the official zoning map as it's illustrated within our GIS. So this is the official zoning map that we have right now as it exists. And you can see that the eastern border of the B1 district that runs along the C1 undulates all along that line and goes back and forth from 83 feet to the north to 115 at the bottom. And you know, of course, the first question that I ask is how does something like this happen? And again, in doing a lot of exhaustive research and going back and going down to the county recorder's office and looking at our records, you know, we found that this area was actually zoned for 50 feet. I'll come back to this map. This map was actually zoned 50 feet back in 1990 when the town annexed into this area. And you can see, and not so clearly because this is actually a blow-up of an older map and converted to a PDF and imported to a PowerPoint, so it's kind of hard to see on the screen. But you see on the right-hand side of the screen where it illustrates the B1 handwritten. This is the actual official document pulled from that ordinance back in 1990. No scale, really doesn't illustrate anything on the map what the width is as far as the district's concerned, but you refer to the, I guess, the written text or the legislative text, and in the outlined area it says 50 feet. So that was the first piece of evidence we had to go on to where we knew it was definitively 50 feet. There was no other document that we were able to find that indicated at any time that this area had been rezoned, considered for rezoning, or modified in any way since 1990. Now, we did find in 1997 that that area had several rezonings take place over the development of Turkey Creek. Some of you may have been on this commission at the time, or at least in Farragut at the time, so you may remember. And you can see in the map illustrated, which again, this is attached as an exhibit to this ordinance, that there's a lot of activity going on out there. So it's somewhat understandable how when you have several different people trying to keep track of everything going on out there, how mistakes can happen, how things can be misillustrated, And as time goes on, things are forgotten about, not changed, and really we lose track of some things. So in 1997, had a lot of activity out there in rezoning for the commercial development. And then in 2003, the Planning Commission and then subsequently the board adopted the entire zoning map as one complete map, where they took all districts on one document, which the background document where you see the map, this is a scan of the actual published newspaper article. So this is the article. The blow-up area, which you can barely read, that's towards the center of the page. I have a blue arrow pointing from that area. That illustrates the B1 district. Again, no dimensions, nothing really to go on other than that first ordinance in 1990. So you can also see that the illustrations really never changed over the years. If you look at the B1 district back in 97, back in 90, it's all pretty much the same. Nothing's really changed. So it takes us to 2003. We've got the official zoning map completely adopted. And at that time, we also took that hard copy map and converted it into a digital system, which became our GIS, which is now the benchmark of doing all kinds of computer mapping. So all of this coupled with not being done within the town of Farragut staff, this was done by local planning and their GIS folks. I think we can see how this small of an area on such a large scale map can be misinterpreted, misdrawn, misconstrued, however you want to call it. But without that definitive width annotated on the map, you really can't speculate what it is. So this is all the history we found with this area. Then you fast forward to July 21st, 2011, and there towards the tail end, as some have said in the 11th hour, the issue came up of the width of this district, whether it was 50, whether it was 100, and you know, I guess in a rush to kind of get this thing before the Planning Commission and considered, we kind of figured, okay, well, the GIS is closer to 100, but then it goes down towards 50. We weren't really sure, but we're being told that it is, and less that it was proposed as 100 feet. So this body, as you know, approved that site plan with that condition that they rezone it because it was developed based on the 50-foot buffer, and we had required them to develop it at that meeting for the 100-foot buffer. And I know this is getting extremely confusing because it's confusing me, but so now we actually are back to 50-foot buffer. That's official. That's what's on there. So there are actually two actions that need to occur tonight for us to get this back to where it should have been in the beginning. First of all is we need to take care of the zoning map. Because this was officially adopted back in 2003 as an entire map, even though it's not correct, we still need to take some responsibility and go back and take some official action and correct it back to the 50 feet in our records at the least, so everybody that's sitting in our chair, these chairs 20 years from now aren't going through the same thing with the same issue. So we'll go back, we'll correct this action, we'll get it documented back to where it was originally zoned, and we'll get that taken care of. And the second is, because the Costco development site plan was approved contingent upon this erroneous zone, we need to look at those conditions and first remove the conditions, the condition of the rezoning, and second, take a look at that, at any other conditions that might have been attached at that time for the site plan. So if we can take this one step at a time and one agenda item at a time, I've tried to be very clear in these slides in the language and transparent so everybody understands what's going on and on the same page. So I'll advance through that, and I suppose, Madam Chairman, if you want to open this up for any kind of discussion, but I'll proceed to my recommendation and motion, and that should generate what you need.
Does anybody on the commission have any questions? Does anyone in the audience have any questions? In that case, Gary, would you please come up to the microphone then, please?
And while he's coming up, if I can take a minute to explain the illustration. This is what we're proposing that the Planning Commission and subsequently the Board of Mayor and Aldermen adopt as the map of amendment of correction, which basically just takes that area back to the 50 feet as it was originally proposed and adopted.
Tell us who you are, please, and where you live.
My name is Bernie Roach. My son Brian owns property in Powell Acres. I was involved in the formation of the town of Farragut, and I understand that things get helter-skelter. I've heard several mentions that we found errors, and they ranged from, and the figures given were 50-something feet to 115 feet. How was the number 50 feet selected over 100 feet, since both apparently appear on the map?
I'm not understanding the question.
Be dead honest, it sounds to me like get Costco.
I can answer that question, Bernie. The only literally legal standing of the buffer is it's on in documented is the 50 feet. And that goes back to the annexation map back when Powell Acres was annexed, just like we did in Concord Hills and went through that. That's the origin of the 50. It had how it got changed to 100 or whatever, any other number, has been through this transposition area and digitizing and going to that other map, and then whatever impressions were given. I don't know what else went with that time, but the only thing, if you go to the legal records and go through the minutes of the meetings to see if there's any amendment or change or any other tied to any other action or rezoning or anything, you can't find anything. I think, and that, wait a second here.
Yeah, the actual ordinance is up on the screen.
Being an engineer, and I know
that's just words.
That's not words. That's just legal standing of what's right. It's just like configuration management, Brian.
I understand.
It may not be what I like or you like, but that's what it is.
I understand. It is still just words in a document that can be changed.
It's in a, yes.
How was the decision made?
Changed by the numbers.
How was the decision made that we will adopt the 50 as opposed to the 100 that was previously agreed on by this group?
The 100 was not agreed to this group.
the-
It was a standing number at that time, and it was trying to be changed to 50. So we made a judgment as a body based on a number that was in error. And this is here to correct, first of all, to put it back to zero on what was correct for that, and put the 50 feet back in place, and then move forward based on fact. Pure and simple, nothing else.
Any other questions, comments? Now, I will say Ed was on the Planning Commission when all of this was done. The rest of us
Not the original.
Not the original, but
No.
but at the point in time of these 03 and those.
We didn't have anything to do with
Didn't do
digitizing
anything.
the map. We had a map with all of that digitized in the town of Farragut.
Okay.
We did measure every dimension on every parcel and every buffer and every zoning in the town of Farragut to go from hand-drawn records and hard records to the digitized map, and what the local planning commission, local planning support group did, not the town of Farragut staff, but the local, regional planning offered the GIS conversion. Okay, that's where the error was made.